my colleague Lauren Solik and I have done a lot of stories recently about Native American issues.
It's been great.
Thank you. Most of the time, complaints about the federal government come up, but of course, they're sovereign nations within the state you lead.
Right.
So I want to ask you, thank you for taking time. You've made it clear that you want South Dakota state government to have positive, mutually beneficial relations with South Dakota's tribes. Do you think there are good chances for that to happen, Governor?
I think we have incredible opportunities to work together with our tribes in a new way. We've had very honest conversations since I've been governor, and even just most recently. So we've got 3 of our tribes that have declared emergencies because of drugs and crime. And starting new conversations with them on ways we can partner is incredibly important right now. You know, this is a failure of the federal government. It really is. They have a treaty obligation to take care of our tribal communities. They're not doing that. And I've complained to the Trump administration when I was governor and asked them to come and help make sure that there was law and order on our reservations. Did not get a response. I have complained as well to the Biden administration and brought our concerns there. I've complained to our delegation. I've complained to peoples and members of the U.S. Senate. Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma, please help our tribes. They are sovereign nations that I don't have jurisdiction over as governor. I don't have the authority to go into their lands. I can partner with them, but they really do need the federal government to step up and start doing their job.
What do you think measurable progress looks like with regard to better relations between Pierre and the 9 nations?
You know, we work every day with our tribes. We have agreements on delivery of services. You know, our Department of Social Services is working with our tribes on child protective services, healthcare. I have state employees that are in IHS facilities helping with case management. We have law enforcement agreements with some of our tribes. I'd love to do that with more of them. I've offered that more often. What happens in that situation is that our state tribal police would go in and they would actually just enforce tribal law. We don't come in and enforce state law at all. We just go in and partner with them to enforce their tribal laws. So these tribal leaders have a unique opportunity right now to really recognize that the state and myself are opening our arms saying, tell us how we can help. We keep offering, we keep sending them requests to partner in new ways. We do it during emergency situations all the time when it comes to flooding or fire or blizzards. We help build their roads, clear their roads, rescue their people. This crime and drugs that they're dealing with, we've been working on helping them be educated with tools, but really the delivery of services takes those tribal chairmen signing new agreements with the state that we've never had before.
Gotcha. So what happens if Peter Langkeek or Clyde Estes or Frank Starr comes out, walks into the reception area for your office? Is that would that be a development that you would welcome and really seek to chat with them?
Oh my goodness, I would hug them. I'd be so thrilled that they were there. I've offered dozens and dozens of times to come to Pine Ridge and to meet with the president. I've dozens of times with these chairmen. Chairman Langkeek, we just had a long conversation during a ceremony here a couple of weeks ago in the Capitol, and I asked him if I could come visit with him and his tribal council and if we could do new partnerships together. So we've had law enforcement agreements with them in the past. I'd love to do that in more ways. These tribal chairmen know, they all have my personal cell phone number. They know they can call me at the drop of a hat and that I would be there. I think that because I'm talking about the cartels and because I'm talking about these people that in our tribal communities that are so victimized and are dealing with trafficking and dealing with the drug epidemic, that they're putting their attention on me. And I'll take that. I'll take that if it helps draw light to the situation that they have the ability to amplify their voice right now to the federal government, and I will help them. I've told many of them, I'll go to Washington, D.C. with you. I'll sit at those tables with you in the Department of Justice asking for help. I will sit there with our senators and with those members of the tribal committee asking for more resources and to make sure that we're spending those dollars appropriately to really bring law and order to our tribal communities. When you look at the poorest counties in this nation, we have many of them right here in South Dakota, and they're all our tribal areas, and it's wrong that we allow that to continue to go on. So I've talked about it for years, and I've tried to follow the lead of our tribal leaders, but ignoring it doesn't make it go away, and it's getting worse. And now that we have this cartel presence in South Dakota and it is so victimizing people, we have to speak out more, and we have to really put the responsibility at the feet of the federal government.
Yeah. I think that's the most often when Laura and I heard complaints from tribal leaders or people, the criticism was aimed at Washington instead of here. Talked to a few people who said in South Dakota, as natives, they feel like second-class citizens. What's your reaction to that, Go?
Well, that breaks my heart if they feel that way, but I can understand it when you look at the conditions they live in. You look at the inadequate housing, inadequate water supply. They don't even have good enough roads to get to many of their homes. They struggle with just getting enough law enforcement officers to feel safe at night, and that comes from poor leadership. It comes from poor leadership and a lack of follow through from those who have those obligations. And I'm not pointing fingers at one White House or another. I think the last two administrations have failed our tribes. They have. The Trump administration didn't help when I asked for help during the COVID epidemic to bring law and order to many of our tribal areas. We had drugs and crime going on then as well, and I've asked the Biden administration the same hard questions. What are you going to do to help the people that live in South Dakota that are very disadvantaged? So, I think that, pointing fingers is always something that people do. I'm looking for results. I'm looking for new partnerships, and tribal leaders who will be bold enough to work with me to bring real results to these communities.
We've got time for one more.
Okay. One more. Sorry. When's the next time you're going to be on tribal lands, and when was the last time? It's a two-part question. I hope you're all right with that.
I'm there quite often. I just met with the Sisseton Council and tribal chairman. I also am talking with Standing Rock. I think we have plans to go up there next week and visit. I'm also visiting with some folks from Pine Ridge that are going to come up here next week, hopefully, and we'll have lunch together and visit. So I get lots of phone calls and messages from many of them, but we've just continued to outreach to all of them and work with them. As you know, we're continuously working with the leadership of our tribes on sales tax agreements, on gaming compacts, on different business that we do every day. So it's quite often that I find myself in our tribal communities.